ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Civil War Wax Museum. My name is Abraham Lincoln, and I was the 16th President of the United States. I was very proud to be elected and to become President. But I have to say, not everybody in the country was as excited as I was. I hear that there were at least 10 states in the South that didn't even have my name on the ballot. That tells you something. They did not want me to become President. Now, why didn't they want me to become President? Well, they had heard some of the things I had been saying when I debated Stephen Douglas back when we were both running for Senate. And they knew that I was not a big fan of slavery. In fact, they had heard me say, as I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master. So they knew I wasn't keen on it. And they also knew that I had been concerned about the fact that our country was divided. A lot of people were either for slavery or against slavery, and I was concerned that our country couldn't remain that way. It would become all one thing or the other. So when I was elected, those Southern people were so angry that the country actually did become divided. In fact, the people in South Carolina, they were the first to act. They seceded. They ran to the government there, the government buildings, took down the United States flag, and put up their own state flag. They decided to secede and become their own country, calling themselves the Confederate States of America. And then a bunch of other Southern states followed, and pretty much it was the South against the North. They elected their own president, Jefferson Davis. You may have met him in the room this evening. And they had their own capital, Richmond, Virginia, and they even had their own Confederate money. Well, then they had to go and get some supplies. They went over to Fort Sumter in South Carolina, and there was some skirmishing. There was some fighting to protect the fort, and there was some fighting to try and get in. And that were the first shots of the Civil War. It was then we realized that it was not going to be settled any other way. So men signed up on both sides. The first battle was the First Battle of Bull Run. After that, there were many, many battles and many losses of life. I really regret how many men died during the Civil War. All told, over 620,000. It's a lot of people. One of the biggest battles was at Gettysburg. It lasted 3 days, and in that 3 days, there were more than 50,000 casualties. A couple months after that, somebody suggested we take a portion of that field where the men had fought, and we turn it into a cemetery to bury them proper, right where they had fought and where they had fallen. So, great idea. They had a dedication ceremony for that cemetery. I was invited to come and speak because, well, I was the president. And they invited the great speaker of the day, Edward Everett. He had a way with words. He spoke for 2 hours, and it was a very nice speech. I thanked him, and I told him what a great job he did in the days following. And then I got up to give my speech. Now, there are no pictures of me giving that speech, because by the time the photographer was all set up and ready to take a picture, my speech was done. It was only 2 minutes long, very short. It has become one of those speeches that people remember, even though at the time I wasn't quite so sure anybody would really, remember it at all. Why don't you listen while my friends in the room right now recite the Gettysburg Address for you.